G'day ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing? ScottyD49 here with you once again for another installment in the How to Play Warhammer 40,000 series. Now, in this video, we're going to be continuing going through the core mechanics of the game, how to build army lists and what's involved that we've already covered, as well as the different ways that you can play the game, which we've already covered. So we're just down to core mechanics at this point, and this is video number 14 in the series. Now, in this video specifically, I will be talking about command points and stratagems and covering everything that is involved with both of them. It's going to be a great video, guys. So if you have not already, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below if you do enjoy the content here. We are slowly growing the fan base on YouTube, and it's awesome to see, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit that sub button. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be jumping in first off with command points. Now, command points are a recent addition of the game from 8th edition, so they're still relatively new, but they do work quite differently to the way they did in 8th edition, so we're going to be talking about that. So, command points have got several different elements that are involved with them. You've got a set amount of starting command points, also how command points work with Unbound Armies, gaining command points during your games, and using command points throughout your games or before the game as well. So first off, starting command points. So this is the number of command points that you'll start off with, and the size of the game that you're playing will determine the amount of command points that you'll have access to start with. The larger the game, of course, the more that you end up starting with. So if you're playing a combat patrol size game, so that's about a 500 point game, you get 3 command points. If you're playing between 501 and 1,000 points, which is an incursion level game, you get 6 command points. If you're playing a strike force game, which is between 1,001 and 2,000 points, you get 12. And if you play between 2,001 and 3,000 points, which is an onslaught level game, you get a whopping 18 command points to use for your games. Now, that's a lot when you think about it, but when you've got so many different things throughout the game that you can use command points for, you're going to want that many. So now I'm going to touch on Unbound Armies and command points. So unfortunately, Unbound Armies do not get the initial benefit of starting the game with command points to use, because with Unbound Armies, they aren't Battleforged. So it means that you don't get the Battleforged benefit. Generally, command points are a Battleforged benefit. However, if you have rules within your army list that allow you to gain command points, and you are able to gain them throughout your game when using an Unbound Army, you're actually able to use stratagems throughout your games with those gained command points. Alternatively, if you do wish to use command points and stratagems when playing with Unbound Armies, then discuss it with your opponent beforehand and make sure you both agree upon the number of command points that each player will be starting the game with. That way, you're able to make use of them as well and get some of the pre-game benefits of them as well as the during the game benefits too. Gaining command points. There's a couple of rules here. So there are many ways that you're able to gain command points throughout your turn, whether that's through warlord traits, psychic powers, character abilities that give you additional, if they're your warlord, for example, things like that. Now, if you're going to be playing a game with an Unbound Army, there is no limitation on the number of command points that you can gain during a battle round. So this means that you could, say, have a warlord trait that every time your opponent spends a command point, you can roll a dice, and on a 5-up, you get it back. Vice versa to if you spend any command points on a 5-up, you get one back. Or you've got a psychic power that allows you to gain a command point as well as do something else. There's a myriad of different ways out there. However, if you're playing with a Battleforged army in a Battleforged game using points, or you're at a tournament, then you can attempt to gain additional command points as many times as you like until you gain one additional command point, as you are only limited to being able to gain that one command point per battle round. So it means that throughout your turns, you can only gain the additional one per battle round. So you can only gain up to an additional maximum of 5 throughout the entire game. That's pretty straightforward and covers off, gaining command points. However, this is the next fun part where you get to actually use command points. So there's quite a few different ways that you're able to use command points in your gaming experience of Warhammer 40,000. You can either use them before the game itself or during during army list construction, or during the game using stratagems, or strategic reserves, a bunch of other different ways. So the different ways that you can actually use command points before the game is during army list construction by purchasing detachments past your first detachment that's got your warlord in it, unless it's one of the specialized detachments I cover off on in the army list video that you don't get the refund for having your warlord in that detachment. When taking specific units in your army list that have a command point cost associated with them, for example, a Relic Contemptor Dreadnought for Space Marines does cost 1 CP in addition to its points value to take it. Or putting units into strategic reserves, which we've already touched on, and that's actually going to be our next video in the series as well, so we're going to jump straight into that in the next video. Now, the only way that you're able to use command points during the battle rounds themselves is by using stratagems. Now, I will also note that you can use stratagems before the game, and we'll cover that a bit more right now. So jumping into stratagems, ladies and gentlemen, stratagems are additional things that you can do both during your army list construction and during your games. So to use a stratagem, you'll need to declare you are using it at the appropriate time determined by the stratagem itself and by paying the appropriate command point cost to use said stratagem. Each stratagem will have its own command point cost associated with it, and if unfortunately you don't have enough command points to use a specific stratagem, then you can't use it. So it means you need to be very mindful throughout your games on managing your command point resources and being smart about what you use it for and when. So you cannot also use the same stratagem more than once during the same phase unless they are not used in a battle round during your game. So for example, a pre-game stratagem you can use multiple times, but during your games you can only use it once per phase. Now there are 6 different types of stratagems that you actually get access to make use of during your games. There are the core stratagems, battle tactics, epic deeds, requisition, strategic ploy, and Wargear. We're going to cover off on what each of these ones really cover and where you get access to them from. So the core stratagems are the stratagems that are available to everybody. They're in the core rulebook and you can find them there. But these stratagems include the command reroll, cutting them down, desperate breakout, emergency disembarkation, firing Overwatch, counter-offensive, and insane bravery. So these are the standard abilities that you can use command points for throughout your games, and your opponents also are able to use them too. Now, battle tactic stratagems are stratagems that target a specific unit with a specific keyword or name to gain a benefit to aid them in battle, whether it's either an offensive or in a defensive manner. I will note here that all the other ones other than core will be specific to your army as well. So then after the battle tactic, you've got epic deed stratagems. Now these stratagems will generally target a unit with a specific keyword or name as well to gain a benefit or to provide a benefit to other units. For example, Wisdom of the Ancients for Space Marine Dreadnoughts, being able to give them an aura. Things like that give your army additional buffs, or you can give yourself that buff on that particular unit, say for Only in Death Chooses You the End for a Space Marine character where they get to fight once they've died. The next one is a requisition stratagems. Now requisition stratagems are stratagems that are specifically used during army list construction to allow a specific character keyword unit generally to get an extra ability, like the Pharaon ability for Necron Overlords, to get an extra relic or warlord trait to be taken in the army. Now, as a baseline, you can take 1 warlord trait and 1 relic in your army list, and the relic doesn't have to be on your warlord, but the warlord trait does. So by taking these extra stratagems and using them, you can give other characters in your army the extra war gear, the extra abilities that your warlord normally would only have access to. Then you've got the strategic ploy stratagems. So these stratagems are targeting a specific unit with a specific keyword or name to, again, give them a specific ability or to give them a specific benefit or to perform a specific thing during your games. For example, guerrilla tactics for Space Marines allows a Phobos unit, if they're not within 6 inches of an enemy unit within the movement phase, to actually go up into strategic reserves. And that's 1 CP, and that's during the movement phase. Things like that. And then you've got the Wargear Stratagems. Now these stratagems specifically target a unit that has got a Wargear keyword, and it is allowing them to use that piece of Wargear during their games. So it could be a melter bomb from Assault Marines, or it could be smoke launchers from a Space Marine vehicle, things like that. If you are using a codex or campaign supplement, such as the myriad of different Space Marine supplements that are there, such as Death Watch or Blood Angels, you will get access to both the supplement stratagems as well as the main codex stratagems to use in your game. So you'll have access to, say, Death Watch stratagems and the Space Marine codex stratagems, because you'll also be taking units from the Space Marine codex, for example. And that about covers it for stratagems, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty everyone, well I hope that I've given you a nice, clear, clean explanation of command points and stratagems, with what's involved with using command points and how you get them and the rules surrounding them, as well as the stratagems, the different types that there are, and the way that you can use them in your games as well. Now, if you do have any questions about anything I've talked about in this video or any preceding videos, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video, hit that like and subscribe button as well. But if you don't want to ask me here in the comment section, that's okay. Come and find me over on Twitch, where I stream on Tuesday and Friday nights and Saturday afternoons, Australian Eastern Standard Time, where you can come and ask me live. If not there, jump into the Discord, where all the details are down below. We've got over 120 members in there, and we'd be happy, if I'm asleep, someone in the community will happily help you understand this or any other element of the game. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.